sorry, just pause for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I think I actually knew a guy in high school whose family, because I went to school in Texas, and I think either one of his family members or he himself was going to be deported after high school.
Oh my gosh, that's scary.
Yeah.
That is.
So just like, I remember hearing that and I was like, whoa, that's scary. I wonder what that's like. But then not really, like, because, my own life, I was kind of caught up. And so.
Can you imagine how that would affect how they did in school, like with that constant thing nagging at you, like, oh my gosh, if I finish high school, when I finish high school, I'm gonna be deported, I'll have to go back.
Yeah. That's why we were just talking about this in my my 431 class about kids who are gonna either be deported or their family's gonna be deported after high school, and then they're just not motivated at all. Like, okay, if I'm just going to be sent away, why am I even bothering doing all this? So I thought it was also admirable that despite this threat, Esperanza was able to keep going, and like you were talking about with the determination about okay, yeah, there's this threat and there's all these hardships against me, but I'm going to keep going, even if it all could fall apart someday. I'm going to keep going. So that was an interesting perspective that I hadn't really considered. So. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just
I
gonna
wish
watch
I could do that.
So messed up. Anyway, so where are we at now? I know there were some questions she posted. I just copied and pasted them here, and it says, after the death of her father and the terrible fire, Esperanza and her mother escaped to the United States in search for a better life. Esperanza finds racism and poverty and the desperation from seeking happiness and hope in this new country. How does this make you see the plight of Mexican and Mexican Americans in the United States today? What about immigration? And does this give you a window or mirror, okay, we kind of already did that, into the life of your students?
Oh.
Well, I think it depends a lot of where you teach too, because in some areas you're going to get a lot more immigration and
that's true.
Yeah, and I know that there's some students who's will be missing parts of school to help their families with the work and everything. So
yeah,
just understanding also with all the moving around that they may do, it interrupts their schooling, so you may need to catch them up, or
even family life.
Yeah.
We know how important it is to have a supportive family. So it's are they actually getting that support that they need, or do they need another role model there, or are they getting what they need to stay healthy?
Yeah.
Just little things like that kind of cross my mind a bit more.
That's something that always gets brought up in a lot of the practicum classes, and that is that oftentimes you are that constant for the students that come through.
Yeah.
You're that support system that's always going to be there no matter what.
Yeah. Speaking of support systems, it's just kind of a little side story that happened yesterday. I was at one of my practicums, and I'm working one-on-one with a kindergarten student, and I think she's from Mexico, but I'm not entirely sure. But I was actually fortunate enough to meet her grandmother, who was there that day, and she was speaking there. She's bilingual. I discovered. I didn't even know that.
Oh.
So because she was speaking Spanish with her grandmother, and it was actually really fortunate that her grandma was there, because her little thing was walking her to the cafeteria to do her little reading assignment, and the poor thing trips and starts crying.
Oh.
Yeah, and thankfully her grandma was right there at the end of the hall and was able to comfort her. So
Yeah.
it was just a really interesting and educational way to get to know my student a little bit better and get to know who's supporting her, and that I was lucky enough to be able to have that moment to get to know and introduce myself and just kind of get to know who's she learning from, who's she reading with at home, kind of thing. So
That's interesting.
yeah. So you did your hair really well. I've always wanted to do that. I should try. So I used to grab it like that. And go, sorry. But yeah. So what are some other thoughts?
We could go into the evaluate section.
Okay. like evaluating the text, or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, Esperanza Rising has been used in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it should because, like, from Tunnel's chapter, even from, like, how we're discussing it,
Mm-hmm.
it should stay in the schools.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, it's something that you can read more than once and take different things out of it.
Yeah, like you were
Every
saying
time.
about how you got more out of it now than you did in
And
middle
the
school.
kids, like, I think it would be fun to, like, maybe listen to it as a read aloud.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because
I
I
can
think
see-
they have to be able to, like, developmentally understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe, like, actually, like, analyzing it, like, 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, so
I
maybe
think
like
that'd be
having it as a
fun.
continued text throughout school. maybe?
Yeah. I don't know. I personally, like, wish I had bought an Esperanza Rising because I
same.
know that I'm gonna just want it.
Yeah. Well, I found like I know it's a Kindle edition, but I found it for like $3 on Amazon.
Yeah.
But
It's just, like, a classic book that, like everyone's read The Great Gatsby. Like,
yeah.
in high school, it's like, maybe.
I didn't get through it. I didn't like it.
No.
I had to read it twice because I moved. Hey, but
Babe,
I feel like this was also just a really good like multicultural lit to bring
Mhm.
in, like that. Like we were just mentioning with The Great Gatsby. Like okay, that's one perspective, one race and culture, but then I feel like this was a really good look at another race and culture in time.
Mhm.
So, and like then a lot of kids can relate to it, but then also like the kids who are immigrants or like have family who've immigrated or have lost a family member. Like there's so many ways that kids can relate to it while also getting that historical knowledge out of it. So I thought that was
Mm. Did you guys see, like, the end of the, like, tunnel chapters? It gives you, like, resources.
oh gosh, there's so many.
There's so many books, and I was like, oh my gosh.
I guess
I
it,
like that about these books. Like
Yeah.
it tells you like how to evaluate them, but then it also gives you, and I'm assuming they would be high quality texts if they're in here,
yeah, because like they have to
Right.
kind of pass his test there.
because then you'll have like examples of ones that you can use and compare to, and
hmm I was excited to see that Avi was in it. Oh, and Sarah Plain Tall's in there too.
oh really?
Yeah, so I'm just like looking at all these again, you know, like
Yeah, I found that to be a really good read, like, and something that I would personally probably come back to and use as a reference later on if I'm selecting.
Yeah, it was nice how it was written.
Yeah.
I like how it was, like, organized.
Yeah.
And I knew exactly what I was reading or when.
You know, something else I appreciated about the Esperanza book was that something I was mentioning in the chapter was like showing, like giving that historical knowledge without just having like one character sitting there and explaining every single little thing that happened, you know, and making it like a boring textbook. But like you still like because Esperanza was learning it, you were learning it at the same time. So I thought that was just something that's popped in my head, you know, about another thing that made this book good. Oh, Witch of Blackbird Pond, I remember that one.
Did
Oh.
you guys read the tunnel chapter before Esperanza or after?
I read it after.
You read it after. Really? Okay, because I went through the tunnel chapter and, like, kind of skimmed it a little
Mhm.
bit before I, like, actually in-depth read it, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm going to actually read this. And so I read it, and then I was able to apply the criteria to the actual book
Oh, that's so good.
afterwards. And I was like, okay, like, I just, like, thought there might be, like, a different perspective to, like, before or after. Like, I was able to stop and be like, okay, like, this makes sense. Like, this is not sugarcoating, but it's
Mhm.
enough to be, like, to tell children, like, what's actually going on. Like, how you talked about how the families were being separated.
Mhm.
Like, okay. I don't know, I just was like, maybe I should read it first. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
That's interesting. I kind of thought about that as I was reading, because I just picked up Esperanza because I wanted to read that more than the text.
yeah.
But as I was reading, I was like, wow, I wonder if I would have saw it differently if I had read the tunnel chapter first.
Yeah, I mean, like, because I read it after, I guess it was kind of a way that I could look back and review the book a little bit too. Like, I read this and was like, okay, I'm going to remember a time, I'm going to try to think of an example. And so I could kind of review the book and kind of make sure I knew everything for today. But then also, like, kind of reflect and think back with these in mind. So maybe if I ever read this book again, I can, think about it.
How would you guys like teach this to kids? Like what kind of like activities and stuff? I know whenever I'm like reading like a children's book, I'm like, ooh, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like I just get ideas. Like I didn't really like. I was telling you guys like the story map. Like I understand like the visual, like this is what she's doing, and like step by step.
Yeah, because honestly, I found that like having like a constant complaint that we always had during school when we had to read a book was like, why can't we just read the book? Why do we have to do all this busy work with it? So I feel like that's really important, is making it fun, so then you're not just like resenting the book. Like maybe that's why I didn't like Johnny Tremaine. It was because we had to do so much busy work with it. I don't know.
I think it's important to do busy work, especially if kids are trying to understand what's happening, but there like comes to a point where it's like, this is too much.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a way you can have busy work, but make it meaningful.
True. Yeah.
Like I like group discussions. Like I don't know if 7th graders will have really good group discussions unless you kind of like help them or give them guiding questions, but that could still be something that would be nice.
Yeah.
I saw a video in my 41 class, I like 41.
Oh, that's gonna take that.
And I think they were 4th or 5th graders, and they were having literature group discussions like we are now.
That's
And
cool.
they can talk in depth about a book, and it was really surprising.
Did like the teacher kind of like set the rules of what
I'm
it
sure
means?
beforehand they
Yeah.
had,
Have a
but like,
discussion.
it was really interesting because there was no teacher, it was just the students
Really?
sitting and talking
Oh,
about
that's
their book.
Cool.
Cool.
See, I
Makes
feel
them
like that is a
more
really good.
accountable.
Yeah, and then they feel like they're in charge, you know, not just like, oh, I have to do this. And you're like, no, let's have a book talk. Like, with some of the students I work with at Shuckson, like, I'll be sitting at their table, and we'll just have little book talks there about, like, because, like, I'm in an English classroom, and I'll ask them what they're reading, and then another kid will chime in, like, oh, I read that book, and we'll start talking about it. So it's just, if they feel like they're in charge, and if they feel like it's just kind of more relaxed, like just a talk, I feel like they'll get a lot out of it, along with like some of the busy work, you know. But
Especially like breaking up into small groups, because I feel
Yeah.
like when you have a class discussion, it's like, I didn't read, I don't have to say anything.
I feel like if you include like those like strategies that are taught to students to help them understand text, like making inferences and things like that, and getting them to use those within discussions, it can be a great way as they read like a text to help them understand it and like, I don't know, yeah.
yeah, it makes sense.
But-
Huh. I was also thinking it'd be cool to do like an art project and making the yarn dolls or something. If you can find out how to do that. Or like something to do with like the blanket that she was crocheting or knitting with like the zigzags, or like do something like with that.
I think it would be cool. I love hearing stories, like someone being a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
Even like probably not in the middle of the book, so you don't like confuse them, but like in the beginning or in the end, just have someone come in and tell a really good story to like kind of like get them off to like start and like, okay, this story is gonna be pretty similar, like it's gonna be in the same era, like bring someone real in. It's like been with it, like I don't know.
What about like a family member of, so like if you have a student in the class who has like and like one of their family members could
Make
come
it more
talk.
real.
Yeah, and then
Even like getting them really into it. I love themes. Like you could just decorate your classroom one day for what it could look like back in the day for Esperanza.
that'd be so
It's a
cool.
lot of work, but it's like you're walking into a new environment and like you're like, oh my gosh.
And then you could have some kids like also help do that and decorate and then kind of get into it. That'd be so cool.
I don't know. I think that would be cool. It'd be a lot of work, but I think that it would have a really big payoff.
Yeah, and you don't have to go like super all out, but just like the idea, you know?
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to talk to other classes. I love like buddies.
Yeah.
I love like 5th grade buddies. Where it's
Yeah.
like you read with your 5th grade buddy and then you discuss what's happening.
Mhm.
I don't know. I like discussions and art projects. Or we could do something that like reaches out to our own community. Like making dolls for like the children who don't have like.
Oh, that'd be
Yeah.
so cool.
I don't know.
I like that. That's really
And that
cool.
kind of makes it so like that history relates to the present too.
It's
Hey.
like you go home and you talk to parents. You're like, "What'd you do today?" And it's like, "Oh, I made dolls." We like Esperanza made dolls in the book, and like we gave ours to our new friends, and so did Esperanza.
Oh, that'd
So it
be
could be
so
really like
cool.
relatable.
Yeah, and then it's like, teaching, because like Esperanza had to learn that, like, oh my god, where are we going with this? Like she was learning to treat others with respect and kindness, even if she thought they were below her or something like that, or because they were, well, where am I going with this? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Like, but I think you're kind of getting the idea. Like, she was treating everybody with respect and kindness, no matter who they were. There's where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, by being generous and donating to people who are less fortunate, they would be like Esperanza and seeing, like, that these are people too. So, and a lot of kids, especially if you're working in, like, I don't know, like, a middle class, primarily, like, predominantly white, or middle class, upper middle class, kind of like learning about other people and other cultures and other socioeconomic classes too. So
Yeah, you could also do like acting it out, I guess.
that'd be
And
cool.
like this would have to be for like 8th graders, but it would be like this half of the room, because you have blue eyes, you have to, you are poor. Like you cannot sit on desks, you cannot use things like pens, you have to use pencils or just like things like that. Like this half of the room, you are really wealthy, you have all these toys, and then like switch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like thought of that because have you guys seen the like psychology study where it's like, it was like in a kindergarten class and like the teacher was like, okay, now this side of the room, because you have blue eyes, you can't do this, this, and this. If you have green eyes, you can do all of this stuff.
Interesting.
And like the kids like formed like groups and like hated each other and just like, it was like ridiculous, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was a ridiculous like but interesting study, probably in like our elementary ed psych classes, if you guys have seen that.
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh.
oh my gosh, it was like kindergarten or 1st grade.
Oh, that's
they
so
were really
sad.
And like they got in the mindset that they were worse than the other people. It was like, oh my gosh. But then the teacher was obviously great and like brought them together and like discussed it so they didn't feel that way anymore.
Wow, that is such a
Yeah,
good
no,
one.
goodbye.
Like, yep, have fun, kids. Go on hating
Yeah.
green-eyed people for the rest of your life now.
That reminds me how powerful like acting something out can be.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in high school, I had a history teacher who had us act out what was the